guys, how are you? So, we're going to continue now talking about page 245, and we're going to take the title of The Effects of Louis XIV Leadership and the Mistakes of Louis XIV and War of Spanish Succession for this class. So, now we're going to start talking about what? About the effects of Louis XIV leadership. So, we're going to go here. And as we said, so the effects of the Louis XIV leadership. At that time, France began to become like the strongest monarch ever. And it was at what time we're talking about? We're talking about the mid to late of the 1616s, 60s. So we're talking about that time around 1660, around it plus or minus. What happened at that time, mid late of it? What happened at that time? The national unification, the military power, the governmental efficiency, all of these, it was France, the strongest monarch about them. No one like France was like having the military, its military or its governmental efficiency or the unification of the land of France under Louis XIV. Now this was because of his leadership. He made France as a model. What is the meaning of model? It means that all of the other nations wanted to become like it. All of the other nations wanted to become like Louis XIV. How he can like maintain all of the all of this power and become like the most powerful monarch at that time. We're talking about mid late of 1660s, and how he was able to maintain this large army that he had, like the military power that France is having at that time was having at that time. Not this only, but also he made France model in three things also: style of painting, the music, the architecture. So all of the other nations around them and all of the other monarchs around them wanted to imitate France in their what painting. So they wanted to paint like them, like perfection, and look at the faces, look at the details, eyes and colors, like showing the nature, showing power, like all of the paintings showing the leadership and the powerful and the classes and the music. Also, they wanted to imitate the architecture in the mid late 1660s. So look at the building, how they start building them in a huge way, in like a lot of windows. Some people are saying like it's with darkness, it has some kind of darkness in it, but some people are saying it was like magnificent thing. France started it, and all of these, they were under the leadership of Louis XIV. Now Louis XIV, guys, he governed for 72 years. So this means that he governed for a huge, like a very long period of time. He ruled longer than any other monarch. Like no monarch ever ruled at the same period that he ruled it. No one ruled his land as an absolute monarch for 72 years except of Louis XIV. He spent his like the rest of his great reign fighting. And some people are saying this was the, like historian people saying, this was the reason for the end of his great leadership or great reign, that he spent the rest of it fighting. He fought who? France at that time fought the two traditional enemies for her: England and Habsburg of Spain. So the two traditional enemies for France and especially for Louis XIV, they were England and the British people, and Habsburg of Spain, so the Spanish people, and especially what dynasty in Spain? Habsburg dynasty. Okay. Now, again, we said he spent his reign fighting, so he made mistakes. These mistakes, not only one mistake, these mistakes led to the end of his dominance, or the French dominance, or the this great absolute monarch to be gone. We're talking about Louis the 14th in France. We're gonna mention them. This is a page from the book, page 245. So they're telling you, I'm not gonna read it, I'm just gonna explain point number one and point number two. So the mistakes of Louis the 14th, guys, it was two mistakes. They were two mistakes. Number one, they're saying that in the year of 1685, look, we're talking about the late of the 1660s. Okay, so what happened here? In the late in 1685, what happened? He wanted to replace the policy that it was ruling France at that time. He wanted to unify France under not the freedom of worship. No, he wanted to unify it under another policy. He named it the what? The edict, sorry, of Nantes. So he wanted to unify it under the edict of Nantes. What happened here? Uh, he wanted to unify them, so he wanted to get rid of the last 10% of the Protestant in France. So he was a strict man in his religion. He wanted to get rid of the 10% of the Protestants because he was like Puritan. He was not a Protestant. He was against them, and he wanted to rule France under the Edict of Nantes. So he wanted to unify France under the religion. So what did he do? Number one, he banned the Protestants from governmental offices, which means that he did not give them an important professional governmental jobs. No, he removed them and he banned them from there. No one is allowed from the Protestant to work in the governmental offices. And number two, he closed their schools. This led to what? This led to three things like connected to each other. Number one, 250,000 Protestants, they left France, and many of them were wealthy. So number two, this led to number two. With them, the wealth was gone. So wealthy merchants, they were gone, and with them a great deal of taxes were gone. This is number three. So he led to what? Number one, 250 Protestants left France. Number two, many wealthy Protestants left the country, or merchants left the country with them. Number three, a great deal of taxes or tax money went with them away. This was the first mistake that he did. The second mistake that he did, that Louis had a large and a powerful army. So, like any other monarch, he wanted to do what? To expand his land, to make his country larger, his power more and more over a larger land. So he decided to do what? To explore outside of his borders and outside of France. So this was a big mistake because around him there is a lot of monarchs and a lot of countries that they were against this, such as who? Such as England, Sweden, Spain, and Germany. So what wars are we talking about? He will start fighting with who? He started the fight with England and with Sweden. It started in 1668, and then he went in a war against Spain, and they called it the War of Spanish Succession. We're going to talk about it within a minute. It started from the year of 1701 until 1714. And finally, Germany. Germany was scared that he will go abroad and will start fighting them. It was when with the League of Augsburg. Okay, here they become like being afraid, so they went to a war against France from the year of 1689 to 1697. So we're talking about, guys, a long period of time from 1668 until 1714. All of this period of time, Louis was having fights and wars with England and with Spain and with Germany and with Sweden, and he just used a lot of money from the country to fight them. At the same time, he was like winning some wars and taking lands. So taking on most of Europe while also fighting England for the right to North America. He fought England. Why? Because England also wanted some lands from the Americas, the New World. It was just too much for France to take, and the result of the wars, it was the fail of France, and France could not succeed in these wars. Okay. Now, War of Spanish Succession, if we want to talk about it, like especially about it, it started from 1701 till 1714. What happened here? The king of Spain, he died. That when he will die, of course, some people or some countries will take over the lands in the Americas to take over it. So the king of Spain died, and Spain at that time had the great territories in America, in the New World, in the Americas. So Europe did what? The European power parted the Spanish territory in the Americas, so no one can get more lands than the other. But the mistake here happened what? That because France was like so powerful, they gave all the Spanish territory in the Americas to who? To Louis's grandson. Now, Louis here, what about him? Luis here is having more power, more money, and he having like a very rich trading because of his grandson, trading between France and trading with between France and the Americas. He's like having a great line of trading, and he's like now becoming like he's becoming with more power and with more money. So what happened here? The Holy Roman Empire and the Netherlands and England here did not like what happened, so they started a war against Louis XIV. No, we cannot accept that Louis XIV will become more powerful, and maybe he will take over our land. So we will not accept that. England here, or the British people, they used what? They used newer military technology that France did not have and France did not know about, and they did not they could not face it. Louis did not have enough money to fight them back, so the result was that England was the winner of this war that happened. The collapse of the collapse of this great monarch of France under Louis XIV started with the death of Louis XIV. Louis died at the year of 1715 because also it started with this, but another reasons that many wars it was happening between France and the other nations or other countries, heavy taxes and bad harvests. Now, no farming and heavy taxes on the people. The economy was ruined because the England took over the lands in the Americas, and now they do not have money because of the wars. And Louise here, descendants, they did not get any they did not have any attention or pay any attention to the throne. They were just rich kids and they did not want the throne anymore. So it was the end for this great monarch of France under Louis XIV. That's it, guys, for today. If you have any question, you are so welcome to ask me.